This is a clip from Raised by Giants Rokfin premium episode with R. Wayne Steiger. Click the link in the description to sign up and watch the full episode now. Hello and welcome back to Raised by Giants Rokfin Premium, where we can talk completely uncensored. I'm Ryder Lee, and I'm very excited to introduce our guest tonight, which is R. Wayne Steiger. Wayne Steiger is a philosopher, researcher, educator, spiritual teacher, and visionary on occult and esoteric studies and many other topics he dives into on his YouTube channel. Hello and welcome back to the show, Wayne. It's really good to see you, my friend. It's been too long. It's too long since we've done one of these.
Ryder, first of all, good to be back with you, my friend. Thank you for the invite. And yeah, it's been too long. We were supposed to get together 5 weeks ago, but I made a move, and with moves come an adventure, and adventures mean you may think you have everything planned. Yeah, there's always going to be something. And so we were for about 3 weeks in the void of no internet. We had very scattered cell phone, and yeah, didn't even access to email. So anyway, it's good to be back amongst the I guess the medium of the internet.
Absolutely. And I'm really been digging the shows that you've been putting together recently. But where I kind of wanted to start off with here tonight is, why did you move out of Colorado? Because from my understanding, Colorado is kind of going to be the hub of this New World Order type of thing that they're trying to put together. And I think maybe that might be the best place to be, right? Because you don't know, I don't think they're going to shit where they eat, excuse my language on that. But why did you move out of Colorado?
Well, what we kept on sensing that if there's an event, and I mean, today they're talking about the use of tactical nukes. And, if that card is ever played on the world stage, I think all bets are off. I mean, we may be looking at a true Red Dawn situation. And my sources was telling me that the last place that I wanted to be was in the Denver greater metropolitan area, because whatever they got planned, that's where it's going to unfold at. And if, let's just say, we have this Red Dawn situation where we never see the 2024 election, this is not going to be a false flag. This is going to be the real deal. Yeah.
When you're talking about the pipeline too, because they're kind of blaming that on Russia doing it to themselves. But why would Russia sabotage their own pipeline? They have control to it, right? If they wanted to do that, they could just shut it off. They control the pipeline from Russia. So why would they sabotage their own pipeline? It doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense. And you think about Putin and Xi, that, they've been at this now for a while of collecting gold. I mean, their gold reserves, it, it makes us look like we're not even in the game. And if they go ahead with this new currency backed by gold, I mean, it's going to decimate our means of currency. And when I talked about Soros, he's known to come in and he bets on the country of their currency collapsing. And there's a whole history of it, and you make big money on it if you are fully aware of what's going to happen. And then this gets into the whole thing with Jekyll Island, back 1913, where this whole mess started.
Yeah, I definitely think something strange and something weird is going on. There's been a lot of disorientation, like
That's a
woken
good
up
word.
and kind of been disoriented a lot, and weird headaches too. There's definitely something to it, but I'm just like waiting for something good to happen, Wayne. You know what I mean? I think that's what a lot of people are waiting on, because looking back through history, since at least since I've been born, and you can go back even, which I'm not that old, but you can go back even farther than that, looking through history, nothing good has ever happened collectively for humanity. Not one,
Never.
not one single thing. We haven't been able to walk outside of our house, Wayne, and just lock eyes with someone and be like, yeah, we did it. There's never been a moment like that ever.
I
you know?
mean,
So,
and that's the odd thing about our species. I was talking recently. So we know from the human genome experiment, and when they cracked the human code, that they know that there are no humans. We're all hybrids. We know that we have this 7% factor of DNA that they're still finding out that they at one time called junk DNA. Now the term is being used God DNA, which brings up an interesting thought, Ryder. If you think about this, if there are no true humans anymore, and we know something happened, the Neanderthals are no longer here, the Cro-Magnons are no longer here. I mean, we just go right down on the genes of what we are as a man or what they classified as man, then are we truly a mistake? I mean, I think about this a lot. I have trees now that I get to walk under, and they're beautiful. But I think about this, you know, our lifespan has not increased. We should be living to at least 1,000 years. Then we could say that we if there was a judgment, well, then you can really say, all right, if you haven't figured it out in 1,000 years, maybe there's something wrong. And two, our intelligence. Recently, it was reported from Johns Hopkins University, and I think it was a Harvard study, that our IQ quotient, and now they're trying to say that that is no longer relevant, is dropping 90 now. Someone says that because of the way that the magnetopause is continuing to be lesser and lesser, that we know that we right now are in history. If we survive, they will read about us. We were the generations that lived during the magnetic excursion. So some people say because there's now more of an inflow of cosmic rays, that cosmic rays and humans don't mix very well. It makes us go crazy. And the theory is, are we experiencing something that happened the last time this event happened? Do we literally just drive ourselves nuts and it's not our fault? I don't know.
I agree with that. I think that everything kind of works in cycles. And then depending on who's left over from the last reset or the last cataclysm depends on kind of what we get. I did this video called the island theory. I don't know if you watched it or not, but I theorize that if you took, I just used an example of 20 people, but it could be however many amount of people, right? You put them on an island, 19 of those people don't know who they are. They don't know anything. It's like they were just dumped there. They don't know what they're doing, don't know who they are, where they're at, nothing. But one person does, right? One person remembers everything and knows everything, right? That one person has a decision to make to either tell those 19 other people about everything that he knows, right? And he would be looked at as a god, right? Or he withholds that knowledge. And when he withholds that knowledge, he gets to manipulate all the other 19 people on the island because he knows things that they don't know. And I think that that's kind of how it's went on these different ages and these different um, periods of history, is that kind of one person or one group has had the choice to make to either give knowledge freely or withhold knowledge. And with withholding knowledge, you get this kind of dark age that we've been in for however many thousands of years you say that an age is. And I think we're getting ready to come out of this Piscean age, and a lot of people have theorized into this age of Aquarius, blah 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 blah, blah whatever. But I think that the controllers and manipulators of our reality know that we're getting ready to go into this next age, which is supposed to be a God age, is what I've kind of termed it as, right? And they're trying to get everyone so manipulated, brainwashed, and controlled that they just skip right through the next God age, where knowledge is given freely and it's kind of like a utopia. So they're trying to lock down the next 5,000 years or the next 2,000 years or however long you think that an age is.
Have you seen the movie Lathe of Heaven?
No, I haven't.
It's it's great. It came out on PBS, the BBC, back in the early '80s, and it's about a guy who's an effective dreamer. And effective dreaming is the theory that there's either one or maybe two people that when they dream, they affect our reality permanently. And the movie is predicated upon the future where this guy has to go see a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist is aware that this guy, when he dreams, changes reality. So the story is based on what happens with this psychologist, because as you said, he becomes God. And it's interesting. I recently had a conversation with someone in this area about God, and I said, "Well, it depends on which God you're talking about." And
Mhm.
they looked at me and they said, "Well, there's only one God." And I said, "Says who?" I said, "Who taught you that?" And that's my whole point to this thing is that God, if you, for instance, the manipulation of the Ten Commandments, there were never 10 commandments meant for anyone but one tribe of people. It was never meant for the human race. But anyway, when you look at a religion, a philosophy, an ideology, even a political position, you begin to see that it's someone else's defined construct of what normalcy is. Well, everybody has to believe in God. Why? What's the purpose of God? Why would a God want worshipers? Isn't that the epitome of ego? These are some of the questions as I continue along the path of my journey here. I'm writing a book, getting deep into it, and it's based on the fact that this is not the realm of the living. All of us are experiencing death, and we don't understand death. And this realm is the death realm. Everything dies here. You don't exist here unless you feed off of something else's energy. What makes it even stranger is that you can't live in here. Even the precept or the concept of eternity would be hell. And so we are living an actual reality of death. This is what death is. And when the moment that death comes, which it will for all of us, it's a living spirit. And most people have been taught and manipulated here that this is reality. This is what being alive means. And all the consequences here, because all the consequences carry over to there. Now, if over there is where we eventually all go, then that means over there is eternity, not here. But I digress.
I agree with you. And I've theorized a little bit about the Tower of Babel, and we kind of talked about this before we jumped on here. I think that the Tower of Babel, they were trying to create some kind of technology, right? And I think they figured out that we're living in some kind of realm or maybe a holographic reality or a simulated reality that a lot of people have, theorized that we live
Middle
in.
Earth.
And they started to try and create this device to leave here, maybe like some kind of portal or, some kind of, technology to escape this reality and go into the next one or something. I don't know. And, someone came in, probably the creators of the simulation or whoever you want to call them, a god or whatever, which I think that the gods are just highly advanced humans, like the ancient Sumerian gods. I think that they're not really gods. It's kind of like what I was talking about with the island theory. If you have
Yeah, is
information,
God human? That's my question I ask people. Is God human?
I think what we refer to as the gods of ancient times were just
Well, let's say the
they.
biblical God, the Christian God.
Hmm.
Is that God human?
Uh, I mean, I guess first you would have to kind of define what God is. Like,
Yeah, the
is it,
creator of all things, the first, the beginning, and
I don't
if
know if I believe in that
yeah, you see, that's my
God.
point. Because you have to go and say, okay, if he's human, then why are we worshiping another human? If it's alien, Why do humans worship aliens? I mean, it gets into this whole cycle of subservience. Um, I was an ordained minister, and you know the whole story. And there's a verse in Isaiah that says, sacrifice. Now, get this, obedience is better than sacrifice. So it's all about obedience to a being that we have assumed is this thing. So, yeah, I'm going, okay, and I'm like you. I don't believe in that God. I don't believe in a God where death is a punishment. That's crazy.
Or if you're judged off of an experience that you had here in this 3D reality that God created, it makes absolutely no sense. Why would he judge you off of a creation that he created and gave you all these circumstances to live in and then judge you when you die? That doesn't make any
Well,
sense to
that'd
me.
be the first thing I'd ask the jerk. I'd say, well, now, wait a minute, wait a minute. So, how did imperfection come from perfection? Please explain that to me because no one has adequately explained it. I've asked that question to tens of thousands of people. No one will explain it because they try to come up with everything. But yet the problem is we have a real issue here. If we have perfection, imperfection would never be able to quote unquote stay in its presence. The energy would be of such a nature that it would obliviate it. So we, and then I guess the equation comes to Ryder. Well, maybe we are perfect and we're experiencing what we consider to be the perfect death experience. I don't know.
And then when it says in the Bible too, it says that God created uh, light and then created evil. Created well, it says that God created light and also created darkness, created good, and then also
Well,
created
here's the
evil too.
thing. So I again had this conversation recently with some here local, and it's not many of them can't handle it because I said, here's the thing. If you look at the book of Genesis, which by the way, the book of Genesis, see this book here, Sumer, out it shows all religions, the Abrahamic religions are basically post religions, right? So it says in the beginning, God was. All right. Then it says God created light, as you said. And it said that God that saw that light was good. Stop right there. So we have to make two admissions from that statement. Number one, this God came from the realm of darkness. Now, if we admit that, because that's what the book says, that changes the narrative completely. And what it means is that it created light, which would have been an artificial construct. The original construct came from a realm of darkness. Now, if you read in a book called Biocentrism, the premise of that is that this is the when we look into the heavens, the humans only see like 3% of the visible light. That what we would actually see if we could see the full spectrum would be a light that would be blind. We wouldn't be able to comprehend it. That the natural state of things is darkness. Well, that changes the narrative. If darkness is good, then that would make light bad. I mean, anyway, uh,
Yeah, I think it's been inverted for sure. They've inverted it. They've made the light good and the darkness bad when the darkness is actually good and the light is
yeah,
actually
I mean,
bad.
if Satan or Lucifer, which doesn't exist, it's a hybrid of a Greek and a Latin term that how did it ever get into a Hebrew text? But anyway, we know that Jerome did that. But let's just say Lucifer. Lucifer is the morning star, which is also reverted in the Revelation of Jesus.
Yep.
So we got one morning light that's Lucifer that's bad, and we got one morning light that's Jesus that's saving us from what? Now, if Jesus is really saving us from something, as I recently pointed out, what's he saving us from? Wouldn't he be an alien? He was a hybrid. He was born from something that was not human. Okay. But if he's claiming that that which created this is his father, quote unquote, then wouldn't he be a betrayer? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, then
I,
also when you look at the other translation of Lucifer as Hillel ben Sharar, Hillel ben Sharar actually means son of the dusk and son of dawn. Right. So you have two, it's the sun in the sky, is what it is.
yeah, I put up a
Um,
challenge for anyone that I'll
yeah.
pay you good money if you show me in the Old or New Testament where Lucifer ever commanded one human to worship him.